to there, so that should be better that way.
Oh,
all right.
thanks.
So let's have a look at why System Fusion. Well, a lot of you have already got System Fusion. Can I see a number of hands on people that may have C4 FM radios already, or the capability? Okay, so a fair number have got that. Now, there's nothing saying that now, oh my God, Al, you just got me to buy a D-Star radio or a DMR radio. Do I need to go out and buy a System Fusion radio? No, you don't. I mean, it's another capability of having a radio out there to work that various digital mode. Of course, System Fusion is produced by Yaesu, and that's their digital, like D-Star with ICOM. System Fusion is with that. And it's a digital and analog FM communications in a single multi-function system. They were the first to come out with this. Now, ICOM have just announced that they're producing their next generation of repeaters, and their new repeaters will have the ability of having digital and analog, where right now our RXR repeater, ICOM repeater system, A and B, are strictly digital. The only way you can work them is if you have an ICOM D-Star radio. Where with the new stuff that's coming out, they will have digital and they will have FM, as Yaesu have already done so, which is kind of nice because people that don't have a System Fusion repeater, like with TOP, doesn't matter what radio you have, you can still use TOP as a repeater there for sure. And of course, there's all kinds of radios that are on the market today with System Fusion, from the various handhelds that they started with, the FT1 and the FT2, which were the first generation radios, the FTM 400 D and the DRX, and then of course the 991, and then they went to the 991A Alpha and the DR1 repeater. And of course there's the Wires Xbox that Andy talked to us about last week in his little presentation there. So it worked out quite nicely. So what I want to do is take you to better.
Yaesu's new System Fusion leads the way for future ham radio digital systems. It provides total integration and compatibility of both digital and conventional FM communications. While conventional FM has a number of excellent features that continue to provide substantial advantages over digital modulations, such as low battery consumption and greater distance capability, digital modulation provides a wide range of advantages by enabling the exchange of more complex information, resistance to radio interference, and better audio quality. System Fusion joins digital and conventional FM communication into a single system. With System Fusion, the user no longer needs to choose between digital or conventional FM. Users can also communicate freely between C4 FM digital and conventional FM stations.
Really nice to be able to use my digital capability with the analog people as well. So being able to transmit into the repeater digital, convert it out to analog, and transmit out analog is amazing.
At the heart of System Fusion's flexibility lies Automatic Mode Select, AMS, which automatically switches the transmit mode to either digital or analog based on the mode detected by the receiver. AMS simplifies mode selection and allows both digital and conventional FM users to coexist on the same repeater. System Fusion has 4 communication modes. In the voice data, or VD mode, half of the 12.5 kHz bandwidth is used for digital voice, while the other half is used for data. This standard C4FM FDMA digital mode provides the ideal balance of error correction and sound quality with the digital clear voice technology developed for C4FM digital. Voice FR mode uses the full 12.5 kHz to transmit crystal clear digital audio. The increased amount of voice data permits high-quality voice communication, providing superb sound quality for a rag chew with friends. Data FR mode uses the full 12.5 kHz bandwidth for high-speed data. The radio uses Data FR mode when transmitting snapshot pictures. And finally, the analog FM mode generally provides superior range while using less power, thanks to Yaesu's advanced low-power circuit designs. System Fusion's digital mode allows for some very useful features. Digital group mode notifies you when members registered to a group are within communication range and displays information such as the distance and bearing for other group members. Members of a group can also send text messages and images when they are within simplex range. And in digital VD mode, information such as position data is transmitted together with voice signals, so the distance and direction to the other stations can be displayed in real time while communicating with them.
Excited this week that I'm ordering the FT1DR handheld, just like this one sitting behind me here. And I can't wait to get my hands on it and program it and get it ready to go.
Yaesu's innovative FT1DR dual-band digital handheld amateur radio has all the functionality you need in an easy-to-use, easy-to-carry package. 2 independent receivers provide wideband receive coverage and dual monitoring capabilities, including AM and FM broadcast stations. Automatic mode selection, AMS, makes switching between 3 digital modes and traditional analog FM effortless. The optional hand mic includes a digital camera, allowing a snapshot to be taken which can be stored in the micro SD card or transmitted to another Yaesu digital radio. The micro SD card stores memory channels and photos on a micro SD card up to a 32 gigabyte capacity. The micro SD card can also be used to clone compatible radios. The data port can be used for connecting the optional camera equipment microphone or for connecting the radio to a computer for firmware updates or data transfer. With all of these features and an IPX5 water protection rating, the Yaesu FT1DR is a rugged all-in-one tool for a new age.
One of the things that excited me about the 400DR, I have a motorhome. And I can set that thing up in my motorhome, and I've got APRS built in, I've got the digital, the analog, I've got the whole thing covered for VHF and UHF. And it's just total flexibility.
The Yaesu FTM 400DR is a mobile dual-band radio with a 3.5-inch color screen. Touchscreen navigation further simplifies operation of this feature-rich radio. Just like its little brother, the FTM 400DR is compatible with the optional camera mic and uses a micro SD card for storing photos and cloning of compatible radios. Photos received from group members are displayed on the full-color screen, and the backtrack function will allow you to navigate to the location where a photo was taken. Automatic mode selection, AMS, makes switching between 3 digital modes and traditional analog FM effortless. And thanks to the built-in GPS, the FTM 400DR supports group monitoring, backtrack, APRS, and smart navigation. Hands-free operation is available by using the optional wireless Bluetooth unit and headset.
The setup and implementation of the DR1 was really quite easy. I was able to do it without even looking at the manual.
The Yaesu DR1 is the System Fusion dual-mode digital analog repeater that covers the 2-meter and 70-centimeter amateur radio bands. A wave of repeater upgrades are now underway across the country and around the world, replacing decades-old conventional analog repeaters with these new dual-mode repeaters, affording continued use of conventional analog FM equipment while offering a new set of digital functions. The large color touchscreen interface on the front panel is used to configure various settings such as transmit and receive frequencies, mode selection settings, and transmit power, which can be set to 10, 25, or 50 watts. The display can be switched off after configuring the settings to prevent accidental operation. The microphone jack and built-in speaker on the front panel make setup and adjustments easier and also allow for base station operations. The DR1 fits into the same 19-inch equipment rack and uses the same duplexers and amplifiers as your existing repeater. For 100% compatibility, some groups are enabling automatic mode select on the DR1's receiver and setting the transmit side to FM fixed mode. In this configuration, the repeater will transmit conventional analog FM regardless of whether a user is transmitting in digital or analog mode. Other groups that are installing the DR1 on a new repeater pair and groups that have a high adoption rate are enabling automatic mode select on both transmit and receive, enabling digital users to take advantage of the full feature set, yet still functioning as an analog repeater when an analog user is detected.
I'm Corey Sickles, WA3UVV. I'm the Southern New Jersey Section Public Information Coordinator and a proud member of the Gloucester County Amateur Radio Club.
My name is Jim Wright, call sign N2GXJ, and I'm a member of the Gloucester County Amateur Radio Club here in Southern New Jersey. We're about 18 miles outside of Philadelphia, about 250,000 people in the area here.
John Zaruba, K2ZA, and I'm the Section Emergency Coordinator for the ARRL Southern New Jersey section.
Today we're going to be replacing our 2-meter repeater, which has been giving us service for many, many years, but is aging out somewhat, with a brand new Yaesu System Fusion DR1 repeater.
Many of the new members that are joining our club are at the technician class level, or they're just getting a license in the near future. And their first introduction to amateur radio is 2-meter, 70 centimeter. And one of the things that our club relies on to pull everybody together in a community is to be able to have a good working local repeater.
We expect the process to be relatively simple. What we're basically going to do today is just shut down the existing repeater and harvest our set of duplexers to the new one.
Nobody wants to relearn how to program in the PL tones and stuff for their current radios and not have it work. So one of the neat things that we're doing here is bringing over the exact same frequencies, the exact same PL tones. So we're really looking forward to this opportunity here to use the Yaesu equipment.
At the end of the day, the average amateur radio operator that's coming out and responding to an emergency is coming out with equipment he's bought out of his own pocket. So if we have an opportunity to improve the infrastructure while not obsoleting everything that the ham is bringing to the table, it's just a pure win for amateur radio and emergency communications.
Those of us in the digital world, if there's something little glitch, we're going to be understanding of that. The existing FM users are not. And what was very pleasant about the whole thing was in firing it up, getting it configured, and putting it on the air, people were able to use it right away. The setup and implementation of the DR1 was really quite easy. If you know something of the stuff of a repeater, I need an input frequency, I need an output frequency, what's my tone squelch frequency, these sorts of things in there, it's very easy to do.
With System Fusion, it's not obsoleting everything that they already have, but as their interests change and increase and they want to participate more in more facets of MCOM, they can upgrade equipment and stay with the system and just add capability. We're not forcing anybody to junk everything they have and go buy all new.
Obsolescence is one of the things that many people get worried about. Oh, I bought that brand new computer. Oh, there's its replacement. We have those concerns with radio. And one of the nice things about the System Fusion product line is that the firmware is upgradable.
Right now, based on initial impressions, I'm very excited about the potential for our emergency communications work.
My name is Chris Wilson, N0CSW.
My name is Michael Blake, N0NQW.
John Roberts, KD0GKM, or Nogo, Missouri, just north of Joplin, Missouri.
My name is John Collison, and I'm KB0OU here in Joplin, Missouri.
The local group here is the 49 repeater group, and we share a link system between Joplin and Springfield, Missouri, and we serve the National Weather Service with our local Skywarn group. We got the repeater, and 2 days later it was online. We already had a UHF antenna up on our tower, so the initial configuration took about 30 minutes, and we had the repeater deployed. It wasn't very hard at all. A couple days later, we interfaced it to a repeater controller, and it was a fairly straightforward process.
What excites me about System Fusion is the high amount of flexibility that the system offers us as ham radio operators.
It does analog, it does digital, it does data. So I believe that all the hams in the area will find a use for it.
We've used just about every mode with the System Fusion repeater that we can possibly use. We've used the voice modes, data modes. We've tried GPS data tracking. We've done messaging, group messaging, and also played around with some of the group mode features that the radio has to offer.
You can set up a group of 2 or 3 people that you want to hear that data, and nobody else will hear that data. So that group function can be real handy in emergency situations.
To be able to take a picture standing underneath a wall cloud when hailstones are coming down around you, and be able to send that back to the National Weather Service in Springfield is invaluable.
On digital narrow, you can get good audio, plus you can get data. You can see how far away the person is that you're talking to, you know their call sign, you know exactly who you're talking to.
I'm an old-fashioned analog guy. I hated digital from the time I first saw it, and then now I'm becoming a fan more and more every day when I see the advantages of digital communications. It just excites me, and I want to become more and more a part of it.
Okay. Get back here and okay. All right, everybody able to see that again? And let me put this back in. Okay, everybody able to hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, I think I'm back on my headset. Okay, so as you saw, it's an older video, but it gives you a rough idea of what C4FM is all about. And here are some highlights just to bring you up to speed with it. So of course, with any digital mode, you do get a superior performance because it takes out all that hash that analog sometimes has. Its integrity is due to good what we call BER, B-E-R, which is bit error rate. Okay, so that's the little modes of packet that go back and forth from the digital, whether it's DMR, D-Star, or System Fusion that way. It's been a proven performance in public safety. In the LMR market, C4FM is expected to be the mainstream for digital communications in the future. Of course, all public service now, a lot of the fire departments have all gone over to digital. They're using the basic NXDN, the Next Edge here on Manitoulin. However, C4FM is very popular with some public service agencies that have gone over to the commercial side of things on C4FM. And C4FM is very close to DMR and that with it. Additional error checks and correction technology provides crisp and clear voice quality over wide coverage area. So what happens is the bit error rate goes back and forth quite well. And if you're in range of the repeater, you get very little of that R2D2 imaging that we talk about, where, you know, it starts to go, you know, pixely and breaks up a bit. So it's usually crisp and clear. And one of the best modulation methods for reliability, transporting a digital signal with our higher rate of recoverability. And that's what you want. You want that packet to go out and come back in where everybody hears it pretty good that way with it. So let me just go here. Okay, why isn't that working? Here we go. There we go. All right, so why should I choose the System Fusion system over D-Star or DMR? Well, you really shouldn't. It's just that if we do decide, and when we put the Yaesu System Fusion, you will have that added capability of using that aspect of it. So it integrates both analog and digital seamlessly. So using the automatic mode select. So if somebody, you're driving down the highway, you have your radio turned on, you turn on the AMS mode, and if somebody comes over digital, you'll hear your radio come back digital. Or if somebody talks analog, you'll hear it come back analog. So the radio, you don't have to sit there and push buttons. The radio automatically does it, and all System Fusion radios with Yaesu have that AMS automatic mode select feature in it. No complex registration required, unlike DMR, where you got to get that 7-digit DMR number, or the D-Star registering with the US root system. You don't have to register for System Fusion at all, unless, as Andy explained last week, you get your own room number or something to that effect. But if you're just an average user using the digital system, you don't have to be registered. It's user-friendly with no learning curve, unlike DMR, unlike D-Star. System Fusion is quite easy. The first thing the radio does when you buy the radio, it asks you to put in your call sign. As soon as you put in your call sign, bang, it's automatically done, and it'll transmit your call sign to other radios. Digital transmissions meet both the FCC and ISED, which is Industry Science Economic Development, our Industry Canada ID requirements, and integrated telemetry and tracking. So nice thing about this is you can see how far the other station is with you. The built-in GPS automatically picks up your coordinates, and whether you're at home as a base radio or whether you're going mobile or a handheld with one of the radios, it automatically picks up all that information. Yaesu were very good. They listened to the market carefully and studied digital technology for enhancing amateur radio communications. That's why they never signed an agreement with ICOM to go D-Star or anything like that. They want to develop their own technology, and it's good because it gives us various options. So they wanted to get better coverage with the digital mode. They want to provide superior voice quality over the other digital systems, and new useful communication benefits, and continue to communicate with others using the conventional FM. And that was the big thing that Yaesu did, was that a lot of people weren't ready to buy up or get a digital radio, so they left it with FM and still being used. So they're with the TOP repeater that's up and operational. If you've checked into the Tuesday night nets on that, you will find some hams don't have C4FM, so they don't check into the digital portion of the net. They check into the analog, right? So, or you have some people that have both and check into both. So it's that. So fusion of analog, FM, and digital. The new Yaesu System Fusion is the future of ham radio digital systems. They did take the technology and they're looking quite well. As a matter of fact, Yaesu or ICOM are now following some of the things that the System Fusion originally did with their new line of repeaters coming out. So it's total integration and capability of both digital and conventional analog. And that's one of the nice selling features of that particular system. You can use both. So if we go up to RMI, take off the existing repeater, plug in the Yaesu System Fusion repeater, what will that give us? We'll still have the FM like we have for our round tables and our nets and communications that way. That won't change. But what it'll also add is the digital capability of using C4 FM and that with it. So, you know, that's one of the bonus features with it. By using the new System Fusion, the user no longer needs to choose between digital or analog. Instead, what you can do is whichever system is best suited for your situation. So if you just want to keep, you know, you've got an ICOM radio and you're using FM now to check into RMI, well, keep your ICOM radio and check in RMI using FM. That's not going to change. I see the roundtables remaining on FM analog and our Thursday night and Sunday morning nets remaining on FM analog. Those will not change. Those will stay analog that way. Is there a possibility of having an additional net on digital? Absolutely, that will probably take place and get a better use. Or if two people are driving down the highway and they say, well, let's flip over to digital and see if the difference. We all know how much nicer it is to talk on digital than it is on FM sometimes. Though RMI is doing a phenomenal job on FM. It's a real pleasure to talk on RMI most of the time with it, unless somebody is very, very scratchy. So when we get people like Tom and you know, some of the other people from Sudbury that are just getting into RMI at different locations, chances are if they came in digital, you're going to hear them. It's going to improve it because we all know digital will give us a 20 to 30% more coverage than analog. In regards to that. So there is a benefit of going digital. Communicate freely between digital and conventional FM stations. So, you know, I mean, you can go back and forth with it that way. So it works out pretty good. So with the Yaesu system equipment, you have what they call automatic mode select, which gives you the FM friendly digital, easy migration, and coexistence. So you really have FM and digital working side by side one another. And these are just a couple of diagrams that show you how you can run both of them at the same time. And TOP is doing that right now. And that one of the reasons I didn't automatically connect, the System Fusion repeaters have a very high sensitive receiver in them. And they have a tendency to magnify any noise. Well, as you know, all know, with our old antenna and heliacs that we had on RMI, that created so much noise. We had the Yaesu repeater hooked up at a time, but that noise was just amplified through that. That's why we went back to the FM ICOM repeater. It wasn't as sensitive. So it didn't really amplify a lot of the noise, but the noise was still there. So that's why I wanted to wait and make sure, because the last thing we needed was a very noisy system. And we know the antenna and the heliacs are working fine. There's no issues there. We just have to put up with the atmospheric conditions some days with that.
And you use an attenuator on the front end?
An attenuator, yes. Well, we have a front end.
We already have those little, well, on the, well, okay, so the preamp with the ICOM, we've got those, whatchamacallits. You know,
the pads in them.
Yeah, the pads in place. And yeah, that works very well with that. We never used a pad. We never used a pad with the
no. No, we didn't
Yaesu.
need it. I mean, it was sensitive. What was happening was the antenna was screwed up, as you know, Bob, and
Yeah.
that was creating all kinds of amplified noise. And with the Yaesu, it amplified that type of noise.
Pad might not be a bad. You know, we only use the pad with the preamp on the ICOM, right? But a pad might not be a bad idea on the System Fusion.
No, no, and we can try it. Like, we won't know until we plug it in to see what we're going to get. The other thing is we do have a circulator on it, which if there's a high SWR or something comes back, it'll go to the circulator. It won't go back into the repeater. So it works very good that way. So why go C4 FM digital? Well, compared to other digital modulations within the FDMA, C4 FM has excellent communication quality, as we talked about, the bit error rate. Presently, C4 FM is the most reliable standard method for professional communication devices in the commercial sector. So the commercial sector is definitely using it, and they expect it to grow to be the mainstream digital communications method in the future. And when you look at it right now, I mean, D-Star is excellent and it works superior too. C4FM is very popular and a lot of people are going due to the affordability. When they came out with these repeaters, there was a good promotion where you could buy the repeater for $500. And you know, a lot of clubs that went that way, replacing existing dying FM analog machines, and now they have the benefit of having C4 FM. So as it said in the video, there's 4 different modes. There's the VD mode for voice data simultaneous communication mode, similar to D-Star. There's the voice FR mode, full voice rate mode, which is called the VM mode on your radios. And then you have the high-speed 96 bits per second data transfer. So you can do, when we're talking about WinLink and all kinds of information, well, data information can be sent at high speeds over the System Fusion repeater system too. So there is a benefit when we're talking about emergency communications and that. And then of course you still have the analog FM mode for conventional FM use. So it gives you those abilities all in one radio. Now here is a real neat system when or if we should decide to use it. It's called the Digital Group Monitor System. And all the radios have this capability where it automatically checks whether members registered to a group are within communication range of your transceiver or of your repeater. So what happens is you have what they call these the GG Delta Golf mic, digital group monitor, the GM system. And what happens is each radio gets entered into the repeater to pick it up. So it's like using a specific talk group. And what will happen, as you see in this diagram here, it will show you the range of how people are getting in. So this guy's fairly strong into the repeater. This guy's about half, this guy's a quarter, and all of a sudden this guy is not hitting it at all. So he is out of range, but everybody on that group will be able to say, oh, and it will tell you that you're getting to the range of the repeater. You either have to turn back, or if you're going to go further, you're going to have to come up with another means of communication. Where now, if you drive down the highway, you don't know if you're going to get in. So if Tom is driving around in Sudbury, like he tries to check into our round table in the morning, if he's part of that group, he will be able to look at his radio and say, you know what? I'll be able to get into RMI, or no, I won't be able to get into RMI, without keying up and seeing if he can hear it or that with it. So there are benefits of having this type of system. The other is the digital image transmissions. Now, D-Star does that, but you need to take a picture on your phone to your app and send the app to your radio and transfer it this way. If a radio is equipped with the additional, and I've got one sitting right here, the additional camera microphone, which has the camera built in right to the edge of the microphone itself, and this can plug into the handhelds, can plug into all mobile applications of the C4 FM radios. What you do is, let's say we're doing a CanWarn emergency net, and you're out there driving around, and you've got trees turned over, you've got other emergency situations happening. Let me just, there, okay. Other emergency, you can take your microphone, point it out the window of your car to the disaster, and bang, hit a button. It automatically transmits through the repeater, and everybody with the digital display. So if you've got the FT-M400, the FT-M300, the FT2, the FT3 handhelds, all that will come across your display on the screen of your radio, and you'll be able to see the pictures that are being sent that way. So it's kind of a neat feature to have built in to that system. Also, the smart navigation function for using APRS technology. Telemetry is in real time, so digital VD mode information such as your position, call sign data are transmitted together with voice signals, so the distance and direction to the other stations. And we've tried that because I've talked to the gang up in Elliott Lake, to Eugene, or to some of the others, Doug or something. He says, oh yeah, Al, I see we're 43.6 miles apart from one another, or something to that nature, because that comes out on the display of the radio itself. And it gives you this type of compass feature where you can see the heading and the direction and that. And if you're mobile, of course, that changes all the time as you're moving in and out of the repeater range. Then you can backtrack function, find your way home. It's kind of like having the GPS system to find your way back to where you were. So you can do your waypoints and your settings, and all that function is all built into the System Fusion, which is, you know, if we're doing an emergency thing like hiking or camping or running emergency operations or doing something to that nature, you do have that benefit of that feature if you decide to use it. The first repeater that came out was the DR1X, which is still being used today. It's an excellent repeater, C4 FM and analog, and has a lot of the features in it. And it was designed to coexist in current analog environments, providing control operator with the ability to offer an exceptional digital experience while coexisting with conventional analog systems, like TOP is doing now, and that with that regard, and it works quite well. The DR1 repeater features at that time modulation characteristics. It could do 25 kilohertz for FM, 12.5 for the VD mode, the VFR, and the DFR modes for that. System Fusion is not compatible with D-Star GMSK digital format. So if you have a D-Star radio, unfortunately, even though it's a digital radio or a DMR radio, well, DMR is a little different. It can be transcoded over to C4 FM, but D-Star is standalone. It's separate. Output power on most of the radios are 50, well, on the repeater, I should say, are 50, 20, and 5 watts. Mode with it, which works extremely well. And they had a large heatsink and cooling fan to ensure power output and increase operating time on the repeater. Now, they don't recommend running the repeater in a 50-watt mode, but 20 watts is a standard. And then if you decide to put an amplifier on it, then you have that much more. And of course, it supports emergency backup batteries up to 55 amp hours, trickle charges included. So that's kind of nice too with these repeaters. You just took a battery up to it and you've got that. Additional, yes.
Al, which repeater do we have at the present time?
We have the DR2X.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll be mentioning that in a minute or two. So there's a 15 pin rear accessory connector for standard analog connectivity for the core and the costs and the audio input. So what happens is right now, that repeater has a built-in identifier. It's a voice module that says VE3RMI, and that's it. There's no other blips and bloops. There's no courtesy tone. There's no, hello and welcome to the Manitoulin Amateur Radio Club. There's none of those announcements. It's just a straight bones repeater with the voice ID that goes off every 10 minutes. Okay, with it. So, I mean, there is that function, or we could take the voice off and just put CW if you want every so often with it. Now, the repeater does have a capability of interfacing the controller with all those beeps and boops and all that stuff. So that is something that we can eventually look at. And we have a controller sitting here ready to go with that. It's not configured and it's not programmed to it yet, so we'd have to all configure it, but it is available and ready to go should we decide to go that way. The problem with running a controller with all these announcements on it, with a digital and analog system, is that as soon as the controller schedules an announcement to go off, it automatically flips from digital to analog. So if you've got two people talking digital in the middle of a QSO and the time announcement goes off, guess what? It throws everybody's radio to FM. So now everybody's got to automatically go back to digital. That is one of the...
definitely a bug, not a feature.
That's right. It's a bit of a problem, and they've tried to co-phase to get it to work, but it's extremely difficult. So one of the things and that's why RXR only has one announcement on the D-Star, and that's at the top of the hour that says, welcome to the Manitoulin D-Star repeater. And that it's only one announcement that goes off on the hour with it. But the thing with the D-Star, it's strictly digital and never goes to FM. So you don't have that issue with it. So this is what the new DR2X looks like. Repeater. What Yaesu did is they came out with new features of the two DR. And the club back in 2017, I believe, I approached Jim and Lorraine, who were my vice president and secretary treasurer at the time, and I said, look, this is a new repeater coming out. It's $500. If we were to buy it other than the promotion, it's $2,500, and it's got a lot of brand new features with it. All we have to do is trade in the old DR1, and we can upgrade for another $500 to the DR2, which will give us a lot new features. So we took that back to the club membership, voted on it at the time, and it was agreed upon to go and buy the new DR2 repeater. So it has very little hours on it. It's practically, as Rusty will tell you, sitting up in the rack there, and it's practically brand new. We haven't really used it because RMI's antenna started to go for crap, and when we plugged this new repeater to it, it really went for crap because it's so sensitive that it amplified all the noise off the repeater. So we put the other one in, which had a little better cushioning on the front end of it. So what are the new features on the DR2X? Well, modulation modes are still the same as the DR1. However, the automatic select mode function automatically recognizes a signal on a digital and FM like the old one does. This one has a 3.5-inch color touch panel operation. It's fully synthesized, which means the nice thing about it, you can punch in whatever frequency you want to put in on 2 meters or UHF 440 with it. So it's a dual repeater capability. It has, what they did is they improved the output, 50 watts, 20 watts, and 5, but you can run it full time at 50 watts. So we wouldn't need an amplifier. You run it at 50 watts on high power. It's got a high heat sink and fans in there. and they did that. Emergency operations supports auto switched backup power operation. So that's there, works very well. A front panel microphone connector is provided to use the repeater or transmitter testing and enables the use of a base station. So if we're up at the tower site and we need to make a transmission from that, we have a microphone plugged into it, we can transmit from there. And the advanced features. So this is what the 2X brings to us. 2-frequency operation, dual receive, dual transmit function. So which means we can run VHF and UHF at the same time, okay? 2 repeaters at once. However, only 1 repeater can be used. You can't have somebody having a conversation on UHF and somebody having a conversation on VHF, but you have the capabilities of having both modes up there. Now, mind you, you have to have an antenna that's able to transmit. One of the problems that we have is we've only got a 2-meter repeater up there, so we would have to install an external UHF repeater with it. It's got multi-site repeater link function for easy coverage expansion. So it's got a built-in modem or device into the thing that we just plug the C4FF or the Cat5 cable into the back of the repeater. If we get internet at the CBC site, we don't need a separate what am I trying to say?
Computer.
Separate computer. Thank you. Yeah, running a system. We just plug the internet. It assigns it an IP address off the router or that, and now we can link to other 2DR repeaters with if they have an IP address. You just go in and punch in and allow IP address this to match to that, and now both repeaters are linked, and you have the function to turn them on and off. So if we run nets or we do emergency services or we want to keep it open to have a large repeater half the time, like we're connected on D-Star to a reflector now, everybody can connect to that. So that has the ability to do that. New and improved news station feature for easy sharing of voice and texting information. So if we want to text emergency, your radios now have the ability, like the new handhelds and everything, have the ability to send text messaging, just like you do on your cell phones now, but you do it over the repeater. And now you get text messages on your ham radio. And that, as long as you're in repeater range, you can get all the text messaging back and forth. So that's kind of a neat feature. It's got this enhanced group monitor feature for the digital group and digital personal IDs. So let's say you wanted a separate group to do, I don't know, say a separate function, okay? Everybody can get their personal IDs put into that group, and you can go ahead and have a conversation on the repeater, and only people that are registered to that group are going to hear you. It's going to be blank to everybody else out there. So it's kind of a neat feature if you decide to use that. And again, one of the negative things is that it's not compatible with D-Star.
Alan?
Al,
Yeah.
with that group thing, it's sort of so that people just monitoring the frequency don't have to be disturbed.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean that it's like a secret meeting off to the side.
Oh, no.
Because if you don't have your digital ID set to isolate that, if you set it to 0, you're going to hear everything. But if somebody wants to, only have the radio on, but only hear emergency at night, for instance, then they set to the specific ID, and all that their system will open to is that. But it's not. I didn't want people to think that it's like a secret meeting off to the side.
No. And thank you for clarifying that, Andy. Yeah, if I came across that way, that I didn't mean that. I meant basically, it's like the talk groups now, right? On DMR. If you want to listen to a particular talk group, then you program that into your radio so that you have the ability to do that. It's kind of systems itself off of talk groups on DMR. So if we have a digital group area and people want to become part of it, it's not like we're keeping it secret. If you want to become part of it and have the ability to hear that, then you just type that in your radio and then you've got that ability. So
Can I interject here?
yes, go ahead.
It's not like talk groups, Al. It's more like CTCSS.
Oh, okay. Well,
so anyone can still
similar.
hear the conversations, but the only people that will be able to participate are those with the same DigiID programmed together.
So it allows the audio to filter through is what is basically my understanding of it. If you have that digital talk group or digital setting in there, the audio will open up the squelch and you'll be able to hear that. Is that correct?
No, it's not about listening. It's about transmitting.
Oh.
So anyone with the same DigiID will be able to transmit to each other. You'll be able to hear everybody, whether you're on the same DigiID or not.
Oh, so if you're not on it, everybody will hear that conversation.
For instance, RXR has a PL tone of 156.7, is it?
Correct.
Anyone with a scanner can still listen, but only those with the 156.7 on their transmitter is able to communicate.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for clarifying. I thought it was a separate group altogether. So, okay. Well, then that works even better.
Excuse me, Al?
Yep.
Just how many watts are actually coming off that antenna?
Off which antenna, Janice?
Power line.
Well, we're running 100, the amplifier right now. Okay, the repeater is running at 20 to 25 watts into the amplifier. The amplifier is probably putting out 140 watts of power. By the time it gets through the duplexers, goes up the 300 feet of heliax to the antenna, we're probably getting anywhere from 90 to 100 watts out of the antenna itself. Okay. So we're losing about 40 watts in the application. But we have to run that power so that people can hear us with a handheld 50, 60 miles away from us. Yeah, exactly. If we were only running 25 watts, you'd sit in your house in Elliott Lake and all you'd hear is through RMI, where now you can leave the handheld on your desk and listen to the conversation. It's because we're putting out that much power. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Okay, no
I have
problem.
a question now.
Yeah, go ahead, Claude.
D-Stars, we're using a reflector to be able to communicate worldwide. Correct. What does Fusion use?
Well, good question, because I just brought up the slide. You're seeing what they call Wires X, digital analog internet linking, like reflectors do on D-Star.
All right.
Okay. So the Wires X have a bunch of what they call rooms. And if you remember what Andy was talking to us about last week, where he showed in relation to how he's got a node set up with Wires X, we can do the same with C4FM. It has the ability to connect to either a Wires X box, or we connect it to a multi-digital board that will do FCS or YSF reflectors. Okay, so yes, the System Fusion repeater has the ability to go to different reflectors like D-Star and that. One of the problems that we're going to experience at CBC site is that there's no internet, unlike there is at the McLean's Mountain site. We have no internet there. So we're going to have to pay or look at bringing internet up to that site remotely, whether we get some type of DSL phone line connection in there, whether we do the like Rusty like his Starlink or something to that nature. Okay.
There's all kinds of different ones getting ready to come out.
Rusty's gonna move his
Amazon.
Starlink to the CBC tower.
Jeff
There you
Bezos. Jeff Bezos is working on something that's way better than Starlink. We got the two richest men in the world are, duking it out for stuff flying around in space. So.
Yeah. You know what? I think the next 3 to 5 years is going to be amazing, and there's going to be a lot of.
Amazon's going to have theirs out before the end of this year.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's even going to be sooner.
You're going to have to duck when you go outside.
Well, the other thing is, too, if we get this new broadband service that may be coming to the island, they're going to have wireless stuff available, and all we'd have to do is put.
What's that company called?
Blue Sky or something.
One Web. There's one called One Web, too.
Yeah, there's different ones that we're. Yeah. There's different ones that we're looking at, and municipality wise, because this is one thing that people want. They have to have high-speed internet to do business from home, and if we're going to attract people into the communities, we have to have that service. So this is a priority not only by the federal, provincial, and municipal governments. We're looking. If anything, COVID-19 showed the importance of being able to have reliability of having internet services. So
basically, if what you're saying is that if we do activate the system, the fusion system, we will not be able to link to other than what the fusion system for our area is capable of handling.
If we had the internet up at RMI,
yes, if we had the internet, but being that we don't have the internet,
yeah. Well, if a frog had
I can't link up. I can't link up other than in our area.
No, but
that is correct.
The internet will be used more. It can be used for more than just fusion. We could put IRLP up there. We could put asterisk up there. We could put anything that's capable of using the internet for linking to another repeater. We could put it up there, right?
Absolutely.
And we are going to need that. We're going to need that when we lose.
When we lose the other one, and the beauty of that is look at the coverage RMI is giving everybody right now compared to RXR or RQQ.
Yeah. When you want to connect it to the internet, not something that's connected all the time, but
well, I'll tell you.
Me too.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Prior to Jim McLean V3 LJM, he had a Yaesu System Fusion radio in his vehicle, and I remember we spent 2 days. Jim drove right around the island. He went right up to Meldrum Bay. He went to South Bay Mouth. He went to Espanola, every low spot on Manitoulin, and we connected. Now, remind you, the antenna on RMI at the time was having difficulty, but when he flipped over, we hooked up the new C4 FM repeater up there on RMI. And as soon as he was coming through analog and he was scratchy, he was noisy, having a hard time hearing him, I say, okay, Jim, let's flip over to digital on C4 FM. Bang, crystal clear, like he was sitting right beside me. So you can imagine a digital repeater with the brand new antenna and height and that on RMI right now. No problem at all. If you're hearing it just slightly, you're going to get in there full quieting and hear the repeater.
Well, there shouldn't be any issues then, let's say, with connecting with, let's say, Sudbury or Blind River or St. Marie on Fusion.
No, not locally, no.
A comment for Wires X.
A little lofty.
Okay, sorry, Eugene, I heard your voice. Go ahead.
Yeah, Wires X, even if you don't have any internet at the repeater site, could be sent from a good internet at home there by using an FTM 400 or 300. So we did experiment with it, and it works quite well.
Serious buts to that, though, right? A few caveats. dedicated computer, dedicated radio, and you can't do any other kind of transmissions from there because it'll wipe out the receiver, right?
Yeah. One small disadvantage is that it sends your other receivers at home.
Yes. So that's the problem is finding somebody that's willing to give up all their other amateur radio just to allow the node to run at their house. and that's what I did. I had the intentions of running a node through RMI on digital from my house here because I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump to the repeater and plug it into my home internet with the HRI 200, which I've got here that I showed you. But the problem is, as soon as I do that and dedicate that system to it, I can't get on any other frequencies because as soon as I start to transmit on another radio, it wipes out the receiver and the transmitter to the tower and that with it. And plus, I'd have to have another computer running 24/7 at my house here that connected. So it wasn't very practical. So we'd have to, like if we had a club station, you know, that could do that or something like that, or remote, or put it up at the tower site, we could do that too.
Yeah,
so
as soon as
you know, there's
we need internet connection.
We do
Yeah.
with that. So
okay.
That's
again,
the first step. That's the first step, and then we can figure out what we're going to do with it. So
right.
What's
so
that,
we have,
Rusty? What was Rusty
I'm
saying?
sorry, I just said that's the first step. Once we get the internet up there, then we'll figure out what to do with it. So, but we need the internet up there for sure. That's a given, you know.
Yeah, if we want connectivity around the world. If we want to just keep the repeater local and that's another question that'll be posed to the club. You know, RMI, the way it is now, the only way to access RMI is to get in with a radio and range.
The whole thing is too, like you don't want it permanently connected, you know, hard linked to anything that everybody's going to hear around the province or around the world. But the ability to bring it up when you need to bring it up in an emergency or during a net or whatever,
Absolutely.
you know, that would be the time to bring it up. And then Maureen could get into it. You know, John could get into it. Carl could get into it, you know, from down under and everything. So, yeah, we need the internet up there without a doubt. And if not for what we need it for now, in the future, when we do lose the McLean's Mountain site.
And well, that is a definitely good point. We have that ability now on all our other repeaters. Like if you want to get on D-Star and talk to us, that's why we're connected to the XRF 103 Bravo reflector most of the time, is if you want to talk to us. But the problem is, where's everybody hanging out on? RMI. Nobody's listening on D-Star. Nobody's listening on the IRLP, RQQ. That's why we have dual band radios. You should have one frequency on RMI, one frequency on RXR, or one frequency on RMI, one on RQQ, so that if somebody does call in on the IRLP and brings up the node and you're home listening, you can hear somebody calling in on there and reply to them. But what everybody's doing is they're just hanging out on RMI. And that's why when people do call or try and connect to the island, they said, well, I called on RXR until I was blue on the face. And I'm guilty of it as just as anybody else, you know? So that's why if you have one repeater with everything on it, then it makes it a little easier that way with it. So this is the HRI 200 interface that we talked about, and that can be interfaced to the repeater, hooked to the internet, and then you have the ability to connect to various Wires X nodes. And this is what Eugene did up in Elliott Lake and we're able to connect into various. Now, we have that capability on the RXR multi-digital repeater, 442050. If it goes over to System Fusion, we have a UHF System Fusion repeater. We have a UHF D-Star repeater. We have a UHF DMR repeater. We have a UHF NXDN repeater. It's just what do we do with it, right? And these are one of the questions that we're going to discuss at our annual general meeting too. So again, the various different radios that are out there, the DR1X, the 400, DR1X repeater, the FTM 100, dual band C4FM transceiver, the FT991 and 991A, HF all mode and C4FM radio, can be used as a base or a mobile. The FT2DR handheld touchscreen C4FM, the FTM 3200, and now they've got the UHF model to go with it. It's a 2 meter 65 watt 64 or C4 FM transceiver. The brand new FT3DR handheld color touchscreen C4 FM transceiver. The FTM 7250 dual band C4 FM radio. The new FTM 300 dual band C4 FM mobile rig. And of course, they came out with the DR2X repeater for FM and C4 FM that way.
I'm seeing here that they're using, you can, Yaesu, you have the capabilities of doing HF and fusion with the same rig.
That is correct. So you can talk on C4 FM HF like you can on D-Star with a D-Star HF rig too. So you have
just one radio.
I'm sorry?
Like you don't need twins.
No, this is what the FT991 is called, the Shack in the Box, because it does 2 meters, 440, and has 100 watts all mode, upper, lower sideband, plus FM, AM, and C4 FM. It's a beautiful radio for C4 FM, no doubt about it. And there's quite a number of people on board that have got the FT991 or the 991A. And that, and it's got the, you know, the waterfall and everything else with it. It's a beautiful radio. It's a really nice radio, indeed. So, handhelds, FT70 is another handheld that they just came out with for a dual band C4 FM. Beautiful radio, works extremely well, and very affordable too. So it's a good entry radio. The 3200 or the 7250 looks like this at the bottom. Another good entry level C4 FM radio if you're looking at doing something to that nature. Then they have the brand new Yaesu FT3 DR handheld that just came out, full color screen mode with it. And if you send pictures, it'll come up with a display of a full color screen. It's like having a cell phone display on your handheld. It's pretty cool. Then the new 300, which also has a color display, and will send pictures and do all of that. A little smaller than the 400. That's what people wanted, was something a little smaller to be able to use in the mobiles, but have all the features of the 400 and that. So that's it on System Fusion.